What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Talking hoops, Mangone, DC, myself, breaking down this 8-game slate. Before I get into anything, though, one guy has to be shouted out for yesterday. Took down everything. There was 3 Q seats left to be taken down for people, and the man just took them all down himself. So JSU, unreal stuff, man. Congrats to you. A lot of good members. A lot of members had good nights as well. But DC, I'll throw it to you first because you were on that Up to Lock show with JSU. He was scrambling. He wasn't in his normal setup. He set at lock. He didn't get all of his stuff in, and next thing you know, he just wins all the money.
Yeah, must be nice. No, awesome performance, obviously from JSU, shipping those 3 Q seats just in time for the weekend here in Denver. So yeah, excited to see everybody out here. I know Mangone will be hanging out, I think, over the weekend. Looking forward to that. Of course, huge congratulations to JSU and. Yeah, sometimes, it's not having your regular setup makes you, can kind of like clarify things, can help you think clearly or whatever it is. So awesome performance. Yeah. And just really impressive to be able to do that while kind of heading up the Up to Lock show as well. So yeah, really happy for him and excited to see him on Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely is a hard work. Mangone and I know anytime I hop on, it gets a little stressful. He does that every single day over here. So that is a premium product. I run Pure Sports. DC 15 will get you 15% off for that. Mangone, what's going on? How's this Tuesday going for you?
Yeah, nothing too crazy. I saw JSU's team and I was very impressed by it. It didn't even have Damian Lillard. It was pretty awesome. I got third to JSU. I tied with some train, and I was sweating it out late and sweated it out on playback a little bit too for old JSU. So it was a lot of fun. Had a good day yesterday, but not as good as JSU. He absolutely crushed it. Loved his team and what he did. So if you want to see tournament teams that are pretty sharp, go study that team. Go check out how he did yesterday. He posted his team in the Discord chat, so you can look at it there. Maybe ask him some questions. I know he was scrambling a bit, but he ended up finding some really, really good low-owned contrarian type builds that were awesome. So congrats again to him.
Absolutely. And he used your play of the day was Aaron Gordon, right? Aaron Gordon was 4% on that team.
Yeah, he did have that guy. Yeah, Aaron Gordon was the play of the day for me. He was on my other team that didn't cash, unfortunately. But yeah, Aaron Gordon did get the job done. And that just shows sometimes when you make pivots, right? Like Tyrese Maxey was great for 32 DK points. Some of those other guards like Derek White, who was chalky, was solid. But sometimes you can just make a pivot from the guys in those guards that are 5K range guys to that 6K forward instead to give you a different construction. And I think JSU played more forwards because he had a utility as a forward as well. And he had Jaylen Brown in his forward spot, not his guard spot. So just shows sometimes find small ways to flip the build, right? You can still play good chalk and then find ways to make it unique. And that's just what JSU did. Hopefully we can give another good play of the day today, though. We got a pretty big slate with a lot of news. It's going to be a day where I don't know if it's unlimited value, but it's you got a lot of good plays everywhere. You got to find ways to make it different. You just can't play all 20% guys. There's a lot of good plays everywhere. You're going to get some good low-owned plays on this slate, so make sure to mix the chalk with some good low-owned plays, and hopefully you get to the top of the leaderboards.
Absolutely. We'll help you out as always. A lot of news that we're waiting on. A lot of news we already do have. 8 games, though. I'm going to shout out a couple people, and then we'll jump right into it since we do have 8 games on this slate. Who's in the YouTube chat today? Mike Carr's always in here. Jordan's always in here. DJ, Andrew Martinez, Derek, AP, Coolin, Run Like, Sean Dre, Butthole Jenkins, Lord, Carmi, Nate Defy's in here, Mr. Patrick Rice, Corey Holt, Brandon, Dollar Bill, Memphis, Lex. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us. Hope everybody's having a good day so far. As Parabai says, smash that like button. Kendrick's in here. Memphis is shouting out Jerry Douglas, Anthony, Ryan Miller, Big Money. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us. Again, we got 8 games on this slate, though. A lot of injury news and stuff to break down. So we're going to jump right into it. The first game of the night, Washington Wizards, Detroit Pistons. We go to the injury report for the Wizards. Kyle Kuzma is questionable. Monte Morris is doubtful. So obviously big news there. As far as Detroit, second end of a back-to-back, they are still very thin. Well, they're still without a lot of their key players. They have a lot of bodies, but Bojan Bogdanovic out, Jalen Duren out, Killian Hayes out, Isaiah Stewart out, Alec Burks out, Hamidou Diallo out. That is a lot of names that are out. A lot of them were out yesterday as well. Alec Burks is out today. He had a good game yesterday. Diallo, he got hurt late in that game yesterday as well. So they're more thin. I'll start with you in this one, DC. They're more thin than they were yesterday. They still do have like Buddy Boeheim. I just learned yesterday he was on the roster for the Pistons. They have a lot of no-name guys that are still at the end of the bench. Man, without Killian or without Alec Burks today, without Hamidou Diallo, feels like a better spot for the Pistons, but it's still scary anytime we're rostering guys for the Pistons who have nothing to play for with Dwayne Casey. So help me out what we're doing on this side, and what does Kuzma news do for you for Washington?
Yeah, Detroit feels to me like the team that's kind of most obviously tanking at this point. I don't really think most of these guys are hurt. There are a lot of young players that could obviously be playing on the second half of a back-to-back. So all these guys out, it does, I think, present opportunities, obviously, for the remaining players. But like you said, it's kind of hard to trust it, right? Because you could get the plug pulled on any of these guys at any point in the game, and that's the worst way to lose, I think, in DFS when you're NBA DFS when your guy gets benched because he's playing too well. Pistons are one of the few teams I do think that's a legitimate possibility. All that said, you never know, right? Maybe they do get their full run. I think Jaden Ivey is pretty interesting here at 5.8K. 13 assists yesterday, 21 potential assists, which is about as high as number as you'll see from anybody. And now they're down even more guards, right? And they just don't have like almost any good passers on this team. Yeah, they got Corey Joseph to back him up, but Magruder and Isaiah Livers, right? These guys, it's all got to kind of run, I think, through Jaden Ivey and obviously some, pick and roll action with Bagley and Wiseman, who I think both those guys are interesting too, with Duren and Stewart and Bogdanovich and all those guys out too. So those are the main guys I'm looking at. I don't think I'm going to go to the super cheap guys. Maybe RJ Hampton at 3K, but even his minutes I don't trust all that much. So, yeah, I think Ivey's my favorite here. I do like the bigs a little bit. And if you do need 3K value, I mean, Livers, Magruder, Hampton, I think all those guys are fine plays, but I do think they're somewhat low ceiling options.
Yeah. I mean, man, so looking at point guard, like who can run the one? It's Ivy, it's Corey Joseph, and it's RJ Hampton. Like Rodney Magruder's not running the point.
No.
Livers, he's definitely not running the point. They have three true point guards. So Hampton at 3K, if I'm going to anyone at 3K, definitely is him. I'm not touching Rodney Magruder. Cardio King, I'd avoid him.
Even Livers, the bigs are like finishers, right? Where, I mean, I do think Ivy's upside is pretty immense here, but he does scare me on a slate that has, let's be honest, a lot of really good plays on it.
Yeah. Bobby brought up in chat, Bagley, 34, 36 minutes the past two games. Yeah. Definitely looks like a very strong play again today. Mangone, how many Pistons too many? Who are some of your favorites? They are thin, but man, it's still nerve-wracking playing some of these guys.
Yeah, and keep in mind when we get to this time of the year, and we're not there yet, but we're kind of starting to arrive to this time of the year where there's just value pretty much every night, and egregious amounts of value. Opportunity cost matters, right? Sure, is Corey Joseph look like a good value on the table, but when there's a lot of good options, it's tough to pick. DC, you're not picking Big Bertha out of a crowd of models, right? But if you're there at 1 a.m., right? Big Bertha's the last one there. You just got to.
He's still not picking him up at 1
a.m. Back off, Mangone, man. Yeah, don't speak for me.
Well, yeah, that's the way to get it. The value is just really good everywhere. And one thing that I feel like I've noticed, and I feel like I beat the drum on a lot of shows about it, is I just think guard value is so strong right now, right? Especially tonight, Tyus Jones, Javon Carter. I know we're on the Pistons game, but those guards are so good that how confident are you in a Corey Joseph where a lot of the constructions, I then look to kind of make sure my forward spot, I either grab raw points or a pretty surefire play. Because if I dud it forward, I'm going to feel awful about myself. And I think that Marvin Bagley is kind of just chalk I'm willing to eat at the forward position tonight. His minutes have just been so good, right? 36, 32 minutes. If I told you, Title, you could get Marvin Bagley 36, 32 minutes at 5.5K, and you could play it 82 games of the season. I know slate context matters, but you would probably lock him in all 82 games of the entire NBA season. It's just such a good role for him in this spot. So I'm in on Marvin Bagley. I think he's someone that I'm going to probably have locked in on most of my teams once again. Perfectly fine with it. Corey Joseph is not a value that I'm dying to get to. I don't think Jaden Ivey is a bad value at 5.8K. But again, I think the big conversation is how do you rate him out as a guard versus some of the other ones? I think a lot of teams are being built by going Javon Carter, Ivy, and Tyus Jones. And when you play, all three of them, well, I got to find somewhere to get different with my lineups. Maybe it's with my forwards, maybe it's with my centers, or maybe it's limiting how many of them I play. So that's the way that I'm going to make a decision. For me, though, Marvin Bagley is number one here. I'd say number two is going to be Jaden Ivey. And then three would probably be, it's probably either Corey Joseph or RJ Hampton. It's probably RJ Hampton for the ceiling. But again, I think it's really clearly Bagley or Ivy. And then the other guys, I don't think you need to dive into that deep. I'm not that excited about them. Let's talk about the Wizards situation, because we have news that we are waiting on in that game. And not just this game. There's a lot of news coming where it could change our thoughts on how we kind of value some of these players. But Monte Morris is doubtful. Kyle Kuzma is questionable. If Kyle Kuzma plays, you know what? I'm not as excited about Kristaps Porzingis. Could he still have a big game? Yes. But I think it's really important for Kyle Kuzma to be out to help Porzingis out. I think it's going to be big for him. And I think Porzingis is a really good contrarian run back that people are kind of ignoring right now. So I do like Kristaps Porzingis. Think he's going to be someone that I consider. And also, why would I like Kristaps Porzingis versus, maybe like a Bradley Beal? Well, because Kristaps Porzingis is like a forward and not a guard. Now, if you could plug in Bradley Beal like a forward, that would be valuable, right? I just think the forward position, like grabbing like some raw point spends that people aren't going to are just way, like, for instance, Damian Lillard last night, he goes for 72 and he's not on JSU's winning team. And I know he's on a lot of different other winning teams, but that's because when you pay for Dame and then you have Bagley at 80% with the score that he got, it just shows that having a guy like Jaylen Brown over someone like Dame was more valuable and important at the forward position. So I don't know. That's just something I'm really keying in on probably the rest of the year. It just feels like forward and spending up for a contrarian option is a sharp way to go. So yeah. Overall, though, that's kind of my take on it. And if Kuzma sits, we should like Denny a little bit. Let's see where Denny's price tag has gone down to, just because I know we were talking about him in the Discord chat a bit.
4.6K, small forward, power forward eligible.
Yeah, that would be a really nice tag, especially against a Detroit team. We know we like to attack them with big men. And I'm not saying Denny's a big man, but Denny is a really good rebounder, right? So I think this is a good opportunity for him to have that double-double game. And hit that upside ceiling spot if Kyle Kuzma is out. So that's going to be important. We are waiting on that news. This is definitely a good game to go to. But to be fair, like I said, I like Denny now, but like we could have some other value that opens up that could be really, really good shortly. Like, I mean, James Harden's questionable. We have a lot of different pieces of news that are going to possibly come in here that we'll discuss as the show goes on.
Yeah, good breakdown. People in chat were asking about Porzingis and stuff. Yeah, if Kuzma is out, I think Porzingis is a very strong play. I think Denny is a strong play. Bradley Beal, I think you can play all those Wizards. If he's in, like, I still don't think Porzingis is a bad play. He's playing upper 30s minutes, shooting the ball a lot. But on a slate like this, there's a lot more risk. There's a lot more risk than if Kuzma was out, in my opinion. So, yeah, Kuzma's out, definitely Porzingis. Then people are asking about Bagley on FanDuel. He's 7K instead of 5.5 on DK. I still think you can play Bagley on FanDuel. I put him on the cast chart. 7K, he's playing 30. If he plays 35 minutes at 7K, power forward and center eligible, 7K is the appropriate price, which shows how mispriced he is on DK at 5.5. So, yeah, I think you can definitely get to him on FanDuel. But we'll keep it rolling. That's the first game of the night. Again, a lot of news that's going to hit on this slate that can change stuff. But Kuzma, important news to start the slate off. The second game of two that starts at 7 p.m. Eastern, the Milwaukee Bucks taking on the Orlando Magic, 227 total. Bucks are favored by 3. Giannis is out today. Drew is out today. Wesley Matthews, Dragic doesn't mean anything. But obviously Giannis and Drew Holiday means a lot. As far as the Orlando side, Wendell Carter got ruled out shortly before he came on the show. Gary Harris is also out. So, DC, I'll start with you in this one again. No Drew, no Giannis means Bobby, means Middleton, Grayson Allen, Javon Carter, Ingles, Brooke Lopez. I think all of them are in play. Need to see or need you to rank them. How many's too many? Who are your favorites? As far as the Orlando side, no Wendell Carter, so Mo Wagner should start for him. I haven't really been playing Paulo, Cole Anthony, Fultz. I mean, the Bucks side is definitely more interesting. What do you see in this one?
Yeah, I do think both sides are interesting with the injuries. Carter out, obviously they traded Bamba, so they're a little bit short in the front court. I do think Mo Wagner, 3,900 is interesting. And yeah, kind of think Bull at 3,200 is pretty interesting too. Will probably come off the bench, but I do think he's got some upside. So yeah, I'm mostly looking at the bigs for Orlando. I do think you could go to a guy like Jalen Suggs at 4,200, but he's another guy where I do think he's got a pretty good shot to give you 25-ish. I don't think that's going to be enough, even at 4,200 on this particular slate, to really compete in GPP. So I really am looking for upside at every position on this slate. I think you need it. I think that's one important thing to remember as you're building lineups. Milwaukee, yeah, I mean, I think most of these guys are good plays, right? Portis, Lopez, Middleton, Javon Carter, I think is probably my favorite. I think he should start a point guard, right? I would assume so. I don't really know who else.
That's my guess.
Yeah. He's 3,700, and he's been more aggressive recently, especially obviously with Drew and Giannis out. So he is my favorite, partly because he's just kind of the cheapest guy. Milwaukee still does have enough guys, right? I still think they're going to play 9, maybe 10 guys in this game. I don't really think like Middleton's minutes are going to shoot up. I bet they still keep him in that 25 to 30 range. Yeah, the usage is going to go up a little bit with Drew and Giannis out, but he's 6,400, and he's on kind of a hard minutes limit, we think. So a little lukewarm on him. I do think he's a totally fine play. I just don't know if I'll end up there. I like Bobby Portis some at 6,300, but I don't really feel like any of the Bucks are must plays. Like I said, Carter, my favorite. And then I do like a little bit Joe Ingles, who's been playing, 20 to 30 minutes most nights. I do think he gets a kind of a significant bump here with Giannis and Drew out, because he should be kind of the backup point guard in this one. He'll get other minutes besides that too, but I do think they'll kind of let him run the show when Javon Carter takes a break. So you could see 30 plus minutes out of Ingles. I think it's possible. Some of that running the point. He's 3,500. He's been pretty solid recently. He'd probably actually be my second favorite Bucks guy here. Yeah,
I agree with everything you said. Gary and Chad, is Portis still on a minutes limit? Man, it does not look like they want to push his minutes. He's played on 21 a couple times, maybe 26 to 27, something like that. But I would be surprised to see him play in the 30s. As DC said, like Joe Ingles going to play a good amount. Pat Con off the bench. Crowder will play some. I think AJ Green and Beauchamp get some minutes here. I mean, they're looking for the long run. They're not like Middleton. I would be shocked if he played over 30 minutes. They just don't need it. So yeah,
I don't think project the minutes for these guys accurately. I mean, I think you can nail Middleton pretty good at 27, but beyond that, I think the minutes could kind of go a lot of different directions.
No, Duarte said no. Allen mentioned, yeah, I mentioned Grayson Allen in the beginning. He's just another guy. He'll start. Yeah, I mean, You can definitely play Grayson Allen. I think Brook probably outside of Javon Carter. I think Brook might be my favorite. He's playing really good ball, and he looks at the ownership. He looks to be the one that isn't really getting played on the Bucks side. Last time Giannis missed, it was against the Bulls, or he got hurt that game. He absolutely smashed at low ownership. I think Brook's interesting at the center position at low ownership. Then go and talk about some of these Bucks. What does Wendell Carter news do for you for the Magic? What do you see in this one?
Yeah, so let's start with the Bucks, just because, I think Middleton and Portis are guys I just don't need to get to at their prices. You have to do a lot at 6'3" and 6'4". I just don't think it's necessary. I think their minutes, I don't trust where they're at. So I'm probably just not going to play them. It's just as simple as that. And also, I'd play Portis and Middleton if, they had 8 bodies, but they don't. They have Portis, Middleton, Lopez, Allen, Connaughton, Jay Crowder, Javon Carter, Ingles, AJ Green, Beauchamp, Myers Leonard, and Thanasis Antetokounmpo. That's 12 bodies, right? It's just not an ideal situation. So I think they're easy to just fade here in this spot. And think about it from the perspective of, we don't know what's going to happen in the game, but let's say Milwaukee blows out Orlando, or on the flip side, Orlando blows out Milwaukee. Do you honestly think those guys play in the fourth? No, they don't. So there's a lot of paths to failure at the price for Middleton and Portis. And even if they have 30 to 35, or even let's say Middleton got you 38, that's not for sure winning you a tournament. Would I sign up for it? Yes, of course I'd sign up for it, but it's not winning you a tournament. It just isn't. So at the end of the day, this is just not a spot that I'm looking to go to on the Milwaukee side. If I played anyone, it'd probably be Brook Lopez, as crazy as that sounds. 6'7" feels like an egregious tag, but we've seen him capture a pretty high ceiling, and he will have no ownership. So I think you could make a case for that. Grayson Allen wouldn't be a fine last guy in. The problem, he's a shooting guard, and he's in a guard spot, and there's just enough good guards where I don't need to go there today. So, and then Javon Carter, I should mention him, 370. He's one of the good guards on this slate. Definitely someone who I'm considering, kind of an elite play on this slate. I think you got to like him. The Orlando side. Obviously, Orlando is a team that we want to consider here because they are missing some guys. We played them the other day. Mo Wagner is the one that I know we're pushing on a lot. He had a lot of ownership. I think he is definitely in the conversation today with no Wendell Carter Jr. Cole Anthony is a tricky one at 4.4K. Guy who comes off the bench. Do you want to embrace that at the guard position? I think he could have the ceiling game. I think it depends on what his ownership is going to be. It seems like it's going to be a little higher than I would like. So right now I'm not dying to get to him as an option. You could also make a case for a Paolo Banchero. I think he has the ability to have a pretty good game at 7-4, but again, he has to do a lot at that price. So for me, I'm kind of tempering my expectations for the most part on these Magic. I understand. Like I saw someone in the chat. They said Markelle Fultz, he could have a ceiling game. Yeah, I think he could have a ceiling game and get you 50 DK points. Certainly think that's in the realm of outcomes, but on like my main teams where I play like the single entry 3-max stuff, I just don't think I'm getting a lot of Orlando. I think in MME, it's perfectly fine, but I would maybe limit to like max of 1 Orlando. I just don't think I'd want, or maybe even 2 just because of Mo Wagner. Maybe I'd make it 2 at that point, but I wouldn't want to be too overweight on this spot. That's all I'm getting at. I think there are good plays in this game. I think Carter for sure on Milwaukee is the best value in this game, followed by Brook Lopez being a pretty good play on the Milwaukee side. And then on the Orlando side, if I had to rank them, it'd probably be Mo Wagner 1. It'd probably be I'd probably make Banchero 2, and then like Fultz 3, and maybe Anthony 4, just because of the ownership. I think Anthony is a solid play, but I just think he's going to be over-owned compared to some of these other guards on this slate.
So so much can change with Harden news, Tobias, Brunson, like so much news can change this slate. But right now, what we have, Mangone, you think you're more likely to play more Bucks or more Pistons?
More Bucks mainly because of Javon Carter, right? Like I just
he's the free one pretty much.
Yeah.
But Bagley, you can put in that same boat that's looking just as free. So outside of those two, I mean,
yeah, and that's the reason why. And like let's say Harden got ruled out, correct, on this slate. Well, if Harden got ruled out, you'd want to put Maxey on your teams for sure. And like we already have a lot of guard value. And let's say you're playing Maxey, you're playing Tyus Jones, and you're playing Javon Carter. Well, now I need to spend it forward. That's how Banchero would become a lot better of a play. So like, again, we don't have the news, and I'm trying to like give you information on how to handle the situation the way it comes. We just don't know. That's why I think I had Banchero ranked a little bit higher there, because I do think Banchero could emerge as a pretty good spend up that if at 7-4 he gets you 40 to 50 DK points, like that could just be enough based on the value that we're going to have at these other positions.
Yeah, no, it makes sense for sure. I'd probably try and find the money and go Porzingis. We have enough value. I haven't got Paulo right, really, it feels like all year. Porzingis.
No, I agree. It's more like last guy. And again, like forward is like, I preached it all the time. Forward is not a good position. And like, I just think like getting a high score from your forward position, like it's just way more valuable than the guard just because of how deep guard is, especially on this slate.
Yeah, no, it's a good breakdown. And he's in that dead range as Paulo, just like we talked about, like Aaron Gordon, Jeremy Grant yesterday. Like people aren't falling in that range right now, which you will be very low owned. You get different roster construction. We didn't mention Jay Crowder, but Jay Crowder's minutes definitely are not fully extended. Andrew Martinez, I would not play Jay Crowder today for sure. Let's keep it rolling on the slate, though. Again, let's see what the likes are. 600 watching, 160 likes. Let's get 325 likes today. I think that's a very fair number. 325. 8 games to break down for you. So once you do hit that like button, there's a big red subscribe button next to it. Appreciate if you hit it. You get notified every time we go live. So tonight we have a big golf show, big tease on it with Cam. Holden's going to be hosting it. And then someone that's won, I think, this tournament 2 times, if I read that tweet correctly. Big Millie maker this week for golf. 4-man booth today. So check that out as well. That will be free on this YouTube channel. Next game on the slate, 7:30 Eastern, Philadelphia 76ers, Minnesota Timberwolves, 228.5 total. Timberwolves are favored by 3. On the Philly side, PJ Tucker and Tobias are questionable again today. Both of them were questionable yesterday and were ruled out. James Harden is also questionable today, so very big news. As far as the Timberwolves side, Jalen Noel's out. Nothing has changed there. Then I'll go to you in this one to start. obviously, if then scenarios, Tobias, Tucker, Harden. If Harden's out, Embiid's going to get a lot of ownership. Tyrese Maxey, Melton, if the secondary guys are out. If then scenarios on them. And then what are you doing on Minnesota? Mangone.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't know which one you were going to there.
You're good.
You threw me a curveball title. So,
well, I did mention your name like 15 seconds before, but that's all right.
No worries. So Minnesota and Philadelphia. Obviously, the news with Harden's news is huge, right? Like that changes everything. Maxey is going to be someone that you'd absolutely love. I mean, I still think Maxey is a pretty good play here in this spot, but you need to have that news. And obviously, Tobias Harris is going to be a big piece of news that matters. McDaniels, he was only 3.9 yesterday. He helped JSU win a lot of money. Well, if Harris is out, I mean, I'd still take what he did yesterday at 4.7. So I don't think he's a bad option. Minnesota is a team that we typically like to target. Also, Rudy Gobert maybe is a guy that we don't target with big men typically, just because of how he can be good down low. But Joel Embiid is one, matchup proof. Two, a guy that can shoot. Like Rudy Gobert is going to have to come out from the paint, right? Or else it's just free jump shots for Embiid all day long. So I do think Embiid is going to be a good play. Just the question is Harden in or out, right? That's just going to be really big information here. I'm not dying to play Ant Edwards here at 9.6. I just don't think it makes the most sense at that price. I guess he does fall into that bucket I talked about, right? Like these spend up forwards that could be a little bit different. I don't see myself getting there. So I just think there's other forwards I'd rather go to instead. So I doubt I'm going to get the Ant today. I know I'm not going to get to, Mr. Rudy Gobert at 7.5 in a matchup against Joel Embiid. That just feels like a giant trap. So no interest there. Kyle Anderson at 5.8. I just think there's better forward options that I'd rather take a chance on. So I think I'm going to pass on him as well. I know Nickeil Alexander-Walker has been getting more run. He's had some pretty good games, and Mike Conley has kind of been the guy that suffered from it. But on this slate at 3.4K, I just don't think it's like the right call. If this was like a 4-game slate, maybe we're struggling for some value, sure, I would maybe take a chance on it, but I don't think it's the right slate to do it. So maybe I'll play Nickeil Alexander-Walker on another slate, but not this one. So overall, it's really just kind of waiting on this Philadelphia news and just seeing how we handle it. I need to know if Harris is in. I need to know if Harden's in. And this is going to be something that completely flips the slate. Like once we have this news, it's going to change some things. Embiid would obviously be a really, really good spend up that we would go to. Maxey would be one of the best plays in the slate if both those guys are out, or even if one of them's out at 5.8K. So just stay close to the news and close to the Run Pure Sports Discord. That's one reason to go sign up right now. Use that code DC15, get you 15% off, and come hang out with us, and we'll help you get the winners closer to lock. And hey, you can listen to JSU, who won 3 live final seats last night, break down the entire slate from his mom's basement.
Yeah, the Up to Lock show, we'll probably get this news on the Up to Lock show, and it's definitely going to change. Someone mentioned that you mentioned the wrong McDaniels. Both McDaniels, it's the McDaniels brothers going at it. Both McDaniels scored 31 last game, but yes, the 3,100 on Philly shipped it for JSU yesterday. Then the other brother, Jaden, Jaden 4.7K on Minnesota. I mean, Jaden, he's going to be low owned. You can play him regardless. There's no news we're waiting on the Minnesota side. But Jalen McDaniels, Tobias out, PJ's out. Harden doesn't matter as much. We saw it yesterday, though. He started. You could play him too. DC, you're the Minnesota guy. Can you get? You like the McDaniels guys, long, lengthy, athletic, more so probably real life than DFS. We don't play him too much, but the news breaks your way. Could you see yourself making a McDaniels brothers lineup? Talk about Harden news and what you do in this game.
Yeah, could definitely ended up on Jalen McDaniels. I played him last night as well, still 3,100. But I do think you need at least one of Tobias Harris and PJ Tucker to be out to be considering him, and preferably both, right? Because he is like both guys, really good defenders, really versatile players, but they're not guys that typically put up a whole bunch of points per minute in a hurry. They kind of need to be out there for a good amount of time. So, I would definitely take the discount on Jalen, the Philadelphia guy, over his brother. But kind of depends on that Harris and Tucker news, and everything for Philadelphia kind of depends on the news overall, right? You've obviously got Harris and Tucker, but of course the big one is James Harden. If he does sit, I think Maxey becomes the favorite guy, like you guys said. I also think Shake Milton, 3K, stone minimum price for Milton. I think he played 30 minutes yesterday. Yeah, so he was out there for a good number of minutes. Part of that obviously was due to Tobias Harris, but even if Tobias came back, as long as Harden sat, they don't have a lot else. They're a pretty thin team right now outside of their stars. So I do think Shake Milton would be in for some pretty good run if Harden does end up missing. I'm a little worried about Joel Embiid here. This is the third game in 4 nights for the 76ers. Embiid played 37 minutes in each of those 2 games. All 3 of the games are on the road, so there's been traveling, flights. Not on the injury report. I wouldn't even be shocked if he ended up sitting this game out. It seems pretty risky for Embiid to play big minutes for a third game in 4 nights. All 3 games on the road. And, listen, he can obviously win against anybody, including Rudy Gobert. But I do think it's a pretty tough matchup for a guy who does score a lot, kind of in isolation, on post-ups, that kind of thing. I mean, Gobert's lost a step, but I still think he's one of the better center defenders in the league in kind of a one-on-one matchup like that. So there's kind of enough there for me for Embiid where I'll probably end up being off of him either way. One, if Harden plays, obviously his ceiling's not quite as high. And if Harden's out, a lot of people are going to go to Embiid because everybody's got salary to spend with all the value on the slate. So I think he's going to be a little bit overowned from that regard. So, yeah, I probably won't end up on Embiid here. It'll more be Maxey and Milton if Harden sits for me. And then the Wolf side, I mean, on a slate where there's so many mispriced players on this slate, right? So many screaming values. I don't really see any mispriced players at all on Minnesota, at least on the cheap end. They all seem, yes, reasonable plays, maybe last guys in, but no one that I'm really targeting on the Wolves.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Wolves. One of the healthiest teams on the slate. This time of the year, so many teams are thin. You don't really got to go to that. So go to you, DC, on this because you brought up Shake Milton, who definitely is going to be sneaky because if Harden's out, Tobias, like stuff like that, it's going to be Maxey and it's going to be D'Anthony Melton that get the huge ownership boost. Would you play all 3 together? Would you max 2? What are your thoughts there? Because he played 29 minutes. Anytime Shake gets minutes, he is a good player, but I still don't think unless he randomly starts, still don't think anyone would really go there with the ownership. So what are your thoughts? Could you play all 3?
I wouldn't play all 3, but I do think you could play any of the 2 together if Harden's out. Maybe if Harris is out, you could play all 3 together because at that point, yeah, I think all 3 guys would be out there for a significant amount of minutes. Milton, if Harden's out, maybe they reduce Embiid's minutes a little bit. The Wolves are streaking right now, playing good basketball. They need to win for playoff positioning, get into the playoffs. So I do think potentially this game could go south for Philadelphia. I think Milton would be almost assured to kind of close out a blowout. Maybe you get some garbage time run there at 3K. So I do think he's an interesting play overall.
I like it. Great breakdown there. We're going to keep it rolling. 325 likes is what we need. Big slate today. Again, still on the 7:30 p.m. Eastern games, the second of 2. Charlotte Hornets, New York Knicks, 226 total. Knicks are favored by 10. On the Charlotte side, nothing has changed. LaMelo's going to be out for the year. Cody Martin's not playing. As far as the Knicks, Jalen Brunson is questionable. Another huge piece of news on this slate. If he is out, quickly will start again. He will be one of the highest owned players, rightfully so. DC, I'll go back to you in this one. Brunson in, Brunson out. Talk about that. Talk about any Hornets you like. Break down this one for us.
Yeah, the Knicks coming off that double overtime game without Brunson quickly played 55 minutes. That's about as many as I can ever receive. What is that? All but 2 minutes in a double overtime game, I think. So, crazy performance from him. He's still 5K, right? So he'd still be a good play. I guess a little bit worried he might be kind of gassed out after playing, assume probably most minutes of his life. But, yeah, he's had a day off. Probably be good, and the matchup, of course, is so good against Charlotte. So, yeah, New York really does kind of depend on if Brunson sits or not. If he does sit, I think quickly is definitely obviously a pretty awesome play. A lot of people would go in that direction, of course. I think you could go to Quentin Grimes, 3,400. He's been not great recently, but he is still potentially in line for a lot of minutes. And the price has come all the way down, right, to the lowest price it's been, I think, all season for Quentin Grimes. He's interesting. Could even look at Josh Hart. But, yeah, all these plays to me are kind of dependent on Jalen Brunson sitting out. So certainly just another piece of news. RJ Barrett, another guy that I think would be a pretty good play if Brunson is out. You could throw Randall in that. I mean, for a team like the Knicks, who just plays a short rotation anyway, like the minutes just only go up, the usage only goes up, and you feel, and the matchup really couldn't be better, right? So, yeah, I think all the Knicks starters would be good plays if Brunson is out. Even if he's in, the one guy that I still really do like here is Mitchell Robinson. Been a little bit quieter recently, but that has caused his price to come down to 4,900. He played 44 minutes in that overtime game, so we know there's no minutes cap there or anything like that. Coach trusts him, obviously, and the matchup is so good against Charlotte, right? For a guy like Mitch Robinson, he's going up against the two young centers for Charlotte. I think he could just really clean up on the glass here, steals and blocks upside, put back dunks, that type of thing. I can see a big game here for Mitchell Robinson. So I do like him quite a bit at 4,900. I think he's a pretty interesting pivot from Marvin Bagley, who I assume will be more popular than Robinson. You can definitely play them both as well. But, yeah, Robinson, if Brunson is in, is my favorite play on the Knicks. Charlotte side, I really don't see a whole lot I like, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you go back to Quickly's minutes when Brunson was out a little earlier in the year, 50, 43, 40, 35, 45, 37, 42.
A lot of big games in there, right, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, when he gets that start when Brunson's out, Tibbs runs these guys in the ground, and Quickly's a hooper. He's an offensive scoring mind. I mean, we plays 5K, he'd be one of the highest owned. He'd be a lock for sure for me. But, yeah, I mean, like if Brunson's out, can you play Barrett and Quickly together? Absolutely, you can play both of them together. You could play Quickly, Julius Randle together. You can play multiple of these Knicks guys if Brunson's out, I think. If Brunson's in, I do agree with you. Mitch Rob is definitely my favorite that way because he's not really affected by Brunson's status. And go and talk about Brunson news, anything on Charlotte.
Yeah, I mean, Kelly Oubre on Charlotte is like the only guy I'm kind of considering at 7-2, but like I don't know. It's one of those like, I say it and like I'm sure like if Big T was on the show, I'd be like, Mangone, you're not playing him. And like, yeah, I'm probably not. But like it's just I could see it, right? I could see it at the small forward spot, kind of like Banchero. But if I had to pick like Kelly Oubre or Banchero, I think it's Banchero. Like if I had to pick at that exact spot, 7-2, 7-4, pretty close price tags, that's the guy that I would lean. But the Knicks are going to be a huge piece of information. And one guy I will be very interested in is RJ Barrett if we do get this news, right? I think RJ Barrett is going to be pretty good. Price tag is too cheap at 5.3 in my opinion. So that's someone I'm definitely going to be interested in if Brunson is out. Also think I'll have some interest in Randall as a spend up at the forward position. I talked about spending up at forward could be intriguing. I'll definitely consider that. And I'll have interest in Quickly as well. But if I had to rank them, it's likely going to be Quickly number 1 at 5K, Barrett number 2, and then Randall number 3. And I even think you can make a case for Barrett number 1 over Quickly because of how deep the guard position is today and how you get to put him at the forward spot. Like if I could play Emmanuel Quickly at small forward, yeah, I'd have way more interest in him over Barrett in that spot. But that's the case to be made for maybe playing Barrett over him. So I think that's a good point there. Mitchell Robinson at 4.9. I think even if Brunson's out, he's still a good play. But again, we have a lot of value on the slate. When you play Tyus Jones and Javon Carter and Marvin Bagley, I start to run out of value plays, right? So that'll maybe make him get a little bit lower owned. We know how Charlotte can get destroyed by big men. I think regardless, Brunson in, Brunson out, Mitchell Robinson is on the radar today as a pretty good play and going to be a little bit lower owned than I think people realize. So this is a game that I think we're going to want to have some interest in, but it's pending on news and how we handle it. So that's going to be really key here.
Absolutely. Great breakdown. We'll keep it rolling. A lot of games on this slate. Next game, Golden State Warriors, Oklahoma City Thunder. Big boy total, 244. Golden State is favored by 4. Andrew Wiggins is out. Kevon Looney is questionable for the Warriors side. As far as OKC, Kenrich Williams out for the year. Poku still out. And the hero, Jalen Williams, the good Jalen Williams, is also out. SGA is playing, though. Man, I don't know. It's such a big total. DC, I'll start with you in this one. It's such a big total, but two relatively healthy teams. I mean, Steph's back. SGA's back. The rotations. I mean, I don't really want to play too many OKC guys. I don't know about Golden State. Feels like one of the easier fades on a total this big. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page as you. They did come out to say that SGA's minutes are going to be monitored for the rest of the year. I was kind of surprised to see that. OKC, they're only only, I think, 3 games out of the playoffs, 2 or 3 games. But it seems like they're kind of calling off the dogs a little bit, make sure they get into the lottery, it seems like is what they're doing to me. So, yeah, I'll probably be off SGA, unless it was a lie and he continues to play big minutes. But, yeah, I kind of think his minutes are going to be down. I would have liked him here with Jalen Williams out, but I just can't do it with, not knowing if the minutes are going to be there. Same thing for Giddey. His minutes have been down a little bit recently too. So I just don't love him in this spot. And yeah, I mean, the Warriors, like Clay's all the way up to 8.1, obviously went off a bunch with Steph out, but with Steph back, Poole's healthy. Still no Wiggins, but still, I just don't see it in this game. I'll probably go elsewhere myself.
Yeah, you said it's supposed to have a minutes limit, and Soduk said he played 36 minutes. You really have absolutely no clue what minutes limits even mean anymore, but it's hard to click a 10K button when he's supposed to be on a minutes limit. Mangone, you think this is kind of a fade as well, or you see something else?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'd maybe consider is like SGA as a contrarian spend, but I think there's other routes I'd rather go. It just, I'll let you figure out how to handle OKC and Golden State, and if you beat me at the top of the leaderboard tonight, I'll shake your hand and I'll move on to the next slate. I'm good. I think there's some games you got to fade, and this is a pretty easy fade spot for me.
Yeah, I agree, and that shows injury news opportunity means more than the total of the slate, because 244 is a big one, but yeah, it's not much appeal over here. We got 3 games left on the slate. 325 likes is what we need. 80 more likes, about 700 watching. And when you do hit that like button, big red subscribe button to the next to it. It's all we ask from you on this show. It takes 2 seconds out of your day. Helps us out a lot. We appreciate it. Keeping it rolling. Next game on the slate, the Brooklyn Nets, Houston Rockets, 230.5 total. Brooklyn is favored by 7. On the Brooklyn side, Ben Simmons is out, nothing there. And Houston is healthy. So 2 healthy teams. Mangone, I'll go to you in this one. Mikal Bridges, he has been playing phenomenal basketball. 8.1K. It's warranted, though. It's not a price we expected to see with that name, but absolutely warranted. Dinwiddie, Cam Johnson, Claxton, Dorian Finney-Smith. I definitely have more interest on these Nets than I do Rockets, but I mean, if you say no Nets, I don't think you're crazy to play none of them either. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with you. I think the thing I'm struggling with is like Bridges is at the shooting guard spot, right? Like I wish he was not at a guard. If he was at small forward, I'd have way more interest in him. I think that position matters a little bit, but Bridges is in the conversation. I think Bridges, Dinwiddie, and Cam Johnson, all 3 guys I will consider. Now, probably not going to for sure get to them. They're going to be more so guys when I kind of run my teams. I'm looking at my chalky plays that I have in there, and I'm saying, okay, let me find some contrarian pieces, and I might grab one of them, right? But I'm not grabbing 2 of them. That's just too much in my opinion. So not going to be going there. If I had to rank them, I'd say it's probably Bridges 1, Dinwiddie 2, or Cam Johnson 2, and Dinwiddie 3. That's how I would currently rank them right now. When it comes to the Houston side, I'm not really that excited about too many options here. The only guy that I think is kind of a good play is Tari Eason. My only issue with Tari Eason is I just don't know if I'm going to be spending down at forward as much today. If I land on Tari Eason, I'm perfectly fine and happy with it, but not going to prioritize jamming him on my teams. I think he could be a pretty good contrarian forward that has upside at 4.8K, but I just don't see myself getting to that build. So again, not someone I'd exit out of my pool or anything like that. But I do think he is someone that you're just going to have trouble getting to. And if you want to get him onto your teams, like up his projection and see how it rates out versus some of these other options. Like for instance, if it's RJ Barrett versus Tari Eason and we got Jalen Brunson out, give me RJ Barrett. I know there's a $500 difference, but like it's just clearly easily going to be him instead. So for me, I'm just struggling to get to Eason, and I would like to get to a Bridges or a Cam Johnson, but it just might be tough. They're mainly going to be contrarian one-off options that I'm looking to get onto my teams.
Yeah, I don't see much ownership in this game as well. DC, like an 8.1K Bridges, 7.3 Dinwiddie, 5.9 Cam Johnson. Do you see any of them making your team? Anyone on Houston, or is this more of a fade as well?
Yeah, I think there's a decent chance I'll end up with 1 net on my main team. Not sure where it'll be. I think it's close between, like you said, Dinwiddie, Bridges, Cam Johnson. I even like Nick Claxton a little bit at 6,500. I think he's got upside. Houston, I mean, they're the best team to target overall in fantasy. They give up the most 3-pointers. They play fast. They don't play any defense. They give up the most blocks and steals against. They just have a ton of upside against those guys. And we've kind of seen, I kind of doubted whether, Dinwiddie and Bridges could kind of carry this starless team. But against the Rockets, those are the two best players on the court, in my opinion. So, yeah, when they're going to, Brooklyn's going to put up a good number of points here. It's got to come from somebody, and those are the most likely guys to do it. So, yeah, I do like all 4 of those net starters. I think I ranked them Bridges 1, Dinwiddie 2, Claxton 3, and Cam Johnson 4. But I do think all 4 guys are pretty good plays. Probably won't go too crazy with it, partly because I don't like the runbacks on Houston in this game. So, yeah, 1 or 2 nets tops. But, yeah, I think all 4 of those guys pretty strong plays tonight and maybe go a little bit overlooked given that, they're not missing anybody, right? So that's one of the things that can kind of really drive ownership is when teams are missing guys, obviously, for usage and minutes. But it's just not quite as obvious with Brooklyn. So maybe they go a little bit overlooked tonight.
Yeah, I think they do. And I'll give a little premium content out in this one. AP does the flow chart for us every single day. He puts it up in the morning. Spencer Dinwiddie and Mikal Bridges are near the top of the flow chart here. So we all know Houston's a great matchup. Makes me I love checking the flow chart out. Bridges, Dinwiddie, both good prices. Use them as a contrarian spend and chalky builds. I think makes a lot of sense. And again, that is a premium piece of content. Same with Cash Chart, Playbook, Core Plays, our Up to Lock show that JSU does. All of that. You do need to be a member for that stuff. DC 15 gets you 15% off. SaberSim is also included in that as well, the optimizer that we partner with. So head to Run Pure Sports, and if you do become a member, make sure you get in the Discord as well. You can ask all your questions on the Up to Lock show in the live show chat in the Discord, and any other MMA, golf, NASCAR. We have stuff in Discord for all of that. You can ask coordinators questions. So DC 15 gets you 15% off. 2 games left. We need 45 more likes for the plays of the day. Let's keep it rolling. Utah Jazz, Dallas Mavericks, 237.5 total. Dallas is favored by 9.5. Important news in this one. Jordan Clarkson, questionable. Walker Kessler, questionable. Colin Sexton is out on the Dallas side. Maxi Kleber, questionable. So not much there. Mangone, I'm going to start with you in this one. What does Clarkson news mean? What does Walker Kessler news mean? It's at 8:30 Eastern, so an hour and a half after lock. Is this news you're going to be waiting on? I know that answer, but are you prioritizing this news? If then scenarios, Dallas, Utah, what do you see?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not prioritizing this, but I'll just call this out, right? Like, one reason I had a pretty good night last night and JSU had a good night last night is because, well, I had some spots left over, right? JSU had the spots to grab Kevin Huerter, right, who had a huge game. I had the spots to grab Davion Mitchell, who I wasn't planning on playing until I got that news, and then it got me to Herb Jones with Trey Murphy. I mean, it all just kind of came together. So, and that's a great point. We need the likes up because I don't want Holden jumping on the show. DC, do you want Holden jumping on the show?
No, we got the likes up.
Yeah, and I mean, DC does not need to endure Holden right now. He's got maybe a month, maybe less than a month till baseball, obviously, and he's gonna be hanging out with Holden a lot. So give him a break. Do not let him.
You just ruined my day, man. You reminded me of that.
Well, I want to hang out with you, Holden. I miss you. I only see you once every 3 months now.
Title trying to suck up. So Title, no. We
once every 3 months is perfect for Holden.
That is a good happy medium there. But you'll see him.
Medium.
You'll see him soon at the RPS party. But Utah is definitely not a spot that I'm planning for. But I don't know if I fall into it. Great. I'll adjust and I'll kind of figure it out, and I'll go from there. It's just not something I think you need to prioritize. So for me, not that excited about that. Dallas is something we should talk about, and it's mainly because it's a raw points thing, right? So we like point guards against Utah. Do we think Utah can keep this game competitive enough? And if we have enough value on this slate, which we have a lot of value, but the problem is that a lot of it's at the guard position. How do we feel about using Luka as a spend or Kyrie as a spend? That's a big debate I think you're going to have on this slate. For me, I think I could see myself getting to Luka just because of raw points, but it also depends on the Harden news. Because if the Harden news comes in and he's out, I prefer Embiid's raw points at the center position versus Luka's raw points on this slate. So that's something I'm going to have to monitor and see how it all shakes out. So it's hard to give a lot of information on it, but Luka's definitely a good, hey, I got the raw points. I'll get him onto my teams and I'll move on to the next slate. If you don't have the money to get to Luka and instead it's Kyrie, I don't think it's the worst thing at lower ownership. So I think you take a chance on it. I'd rather play like a Kyrie over like an SGA or a Josh Giddey instead. So I'd rather go there. But that's really it. It's more so just because, hey, I got raw points and I have really good values everywhere else. That's the reason to be playing these Dallas Mavericks guards in a really good matchup against Utah.
Yeah, DC, someone in the chat earlier asked, like, who's your spend up? Is it looking like Luka right now? And then talk about Utah side. Clarkson, Walker, Kessler news. Are you waiting on it? Are you prioritizing it? What would them being out mean?
Yeah, one interesting thing here that maybe people overlook, Dallas has been the worst defensive team in the entire NBA since the trade for Kyrie Irving. They obviously traded, some of their best defenders and got a pretty bad defender in Kyrie. The Luka Kyrie backcourt, awesome offensively, but pretty brutal defensively. They don't really have any rim protection, right? Like the wings, like it's a really, really bad defensive team. So it is kind of a sneaky good spot for the Jazz, who are down some bodies, right? Like especially if Kessler and Clarkson miss, which I mean, I think they certainly could. The Jazz kind of, decided to go the other direction. It wouldn't be surprising to see them sit more guys down the stretch here. It's still kind of hard to pick out which Jazz you really want to go to. Like Chris Dunn and Horton Tucker, their prices are up. I can't pay $6,400 for Horton Tucker on this slate, really no matter who sits. Chris Dunn, if he got in the starting lineup, I think would be interesting if Clarkson was out, but I don't know if that'll happen. And then, I think you could go to guys like Olenek and even Markkanen, I think is kind of an interesting contrarian spend on this slate. Nobody's going to want to pay that $9,600 price tag for him, but we've seen plenty of 50, 60 fantasy point games. I do like Markkanen and Olenek a little bit, obviously, especially if Walker Kessler sits, and even then more so, of course, if Clarkson sits. So I don't think you have to go to anything in this game, but I don't think it's one to, completely cross off depending on how that Dallas news shakes out. Dallas guys, I'm fine with Luka or Kyrie, but probably not going to anyone else on this team when both those guys are healthy. They just suck up, like 75, 80% of the usage goes right to those two guys. It's pretty crazy. So either guy's fine. Like Mangone said, I think whichever one fits. If that's what you land on, I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Like it. We got one game left. We got a little time. Need 25 more likes. I got a real life basketball question. It's March 7th. We follow NBA every day. The playoffs are approaching. Need the too early NBA finals look, DC. I'm going to go to you after, Mangone. Who do you got right now as of March 7th, Eastern and Western?
My answer's been the Bucks all year out of the East. It's not going to change as long as they're healthy. I do think they're potentially even going to be rounding into more form with Middleton kind of getting back. Seems like they could potentially be peaking at the right time. That's such a big part of who wins the NBA title in the end. It does seem like right now, at least, the Bucks have as good a chance as anybody to get through the playoffs with all their guys healthy. I think they got enough depth behind their big three to kind of endure any minor injuries that might happen to their role players. And, man, it's hard to pick against the Suns right now, I think, with Durant, CP3, and Booker. DeAndre Ayton, I mean, that is a hell of a big four right there. For them, it's just a matter, I think, of health, right? I mean, big question marks on Durant, CP3. Even Booker, to some extent, has missed a decent amount of time this year. So, those would be my two picks. Pretty chalky, I'm sure, Bucks and Suns, but that's what I'd like to see anyway, two healthy squads like that.
I agree. Tyler said Phoenix, Milwaukee. I'm right there too. It is chalky, but man, the Crowder, if the Bucks did not get Crowder, I wouldn't have said the Bucks because I didn't think the depth would have been good enough. They would have had that guy that can guard the best player for 35 minutes, but I'm with you. I think
Jay Crowder, which is going to change your finals pick total?
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
definitely.
He's not. Come on, Crowder's not putting it over the top. I think what puts it over the top.
I mean, look what the Bucks did with PJ when they had PJ Tucker. Like even Giannis, when Crowder came to the team, like he said they had that it factor now, like the edge, the mentality. I definitely think a guy like Crowder. I don't want Joe Ingles playing 35 minutes, Grayson Allen playing 30 minutes again. I think Crowder definitely put the Bucks over the top.
Well, I think the thing that hurt the Bucks a little bit last year was I think they had some injuries in the playoffs. Right? Wasn't Middleton kind of banged up and also
didn't even play. Yeah, Middleton didn't even play in the playoffs.
Yeah, but the key is I mean, everything rides with Middleton on that team, right? Like if Middleton ends up being in this like weird bench role for the playoffs, like this ain't going to be.
No, he's not going to be in the. They're just trying to get his legs. They're trying to get everything. He's not going to come off the bench.
I'm with you, but like again, like I mention this all the time. People just assume that oh yeah, Chris Middleton will be a starter and the flip will switch, right? Like it's just eventually
he's playing good ball. The minutes are capped. I'm telling you, I think Crowder is the diff. Because Boston, I know Mangone's going to go Boston, Phoenix, right? Right, Mangone?
I'm going Boston, yeah. I mean, there's some bias. I'm a fan of them, but I just think their team is just so strong. I just think they're really deep and really good team, and I think Tatum will be able to get the job done, but we'll have to see. So Boston's my pick over there. I'm definitely not – I'm a little cautious with the Suns pick just because I think everyone – on paper, it looks incredible. If we're playing NBA 2K, I agree. Phoenix Suns make it there, right? In the simulation, it makes sense. But, like, we'll see if they stay healthy enough. I think Denver – this is the best Denver Nuggets team we've had, I think. And I think Denver – the draw matters. If they draw and the draw matters in the West completely, right? That's what's going to be summing up. It's all going to be matchup based, but I think Denver could get a good enough draw with that 1 seed. And I just think they could end up getting lucky enough where Phoenix ends up getting to that 3 seed and they just kind of get a little bit of an easier path. And then all they do is take on the Suns in that Western Conference final and hope to get the job done. So we'll have to see how it shakes out. For me, if I had to pick right now this second, I'm going Celtics and I'm going Nuggets.
There we go. Just a little too early finals preview here. Bucks, Suns for DC and I, Boston Suns for Mangone. Health obviously matters the most, though. We got 1 game left on the slate. You guys are going to get the likes for us. So we'll get you the plays of the day after this game. 10 p.m. Eastern on an island. Memphis Grizzlies, Los Angeles Lakers. 224.5 total. Memphis is favored by 1. For Memphis, Ja is out. Steven Adams is out. Brandon Clark is out for the year. Going to the Lakers, LeBron is out. Mo Bamba is out. D'Angelo Russell is questionable. Man, it's a good game to end the night, no doubt. Without Ja, without LeBron, Tyus Jones, Jaren Jackson, Bane, Dylan Brooks, Tillman. The other side, AD mainly. But if D-Russ misses, maybe Reeves, Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt. DC, I'll go to you in this one. What do you see Memphis and the Lakers to close it out?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the Memphis guys that are left are pretty good plays. Obviously, Tyus Jones kind of leading the charge there, 4,900. We've seen this before when Ja's missed time. Tyus kind of usually steps in there, and Memphis keeps on playing well, keeps winning games. What Jones put up 60 fantasy points in that last one without Ja. Seems like the Memphis Ja might be done for the year based on kind of the things I'm reading. So I do think, yeah, I mean, it's Tyus' team now, right? Like he's got to step up in a big way. It's a big game for both teams. Tyus Jones, tough fade for me at 4,900. Beyond him, I do think other Memphis guys are in play. Bane at 7,700 is a good play. I'll probably pass on our boy Dylan Brooks. Me and Mangone, not fans of Dylan Brooks. We don't like to go in that direction, so I probably won't end up there. But I do think, on paper at 4,200, he's certainly an option. And I like Jaren Jackson here too at 7,900. Obviously, he's got the enormous blocks upside. And the usage kind of goes up too without Ja in there. I do think Jackson and Tyus, I think you could make the argument, Tyus is kind of the better point guard for Jackson. He's obviously more of a pass-first guy, whereas Ja is kind of the scoring type. So, yeah, I like Jaren Jackson a lot at 7,900. I think he's a very reasonable option in that upper mid-range to spend on. You can look at Xavier Tillman. I mean, he's played 34, 30, 32 minutes, putting up some pretty decent scores. I think he's an option. Price is a little high for me at 5,400, but I don't mind it. So, yeah, Memphis looks good. I think Tyus, the clear play. I think I would go Jackson number 2, Bane number 3, Tillman 4 when considering Memphis. And, yeah, don't overlook the Lakers here either. Obviously, a lot depends on the Russell news. But if he's out, you can look at Schroeder. Austin Reeves is kind of a growing role on this team right now with no LeBron. He's doing a lot of playmaking for them. Obviously, we know he can shoot the ball. I think he's at least an interesting play. And I do like the spend up of Anthony Davis in this one. Played 38 minutes last game. Obviously, they're going to need him out there. And Memphis's interior defense is really not the same without Steven Adams. So I think Anthony Davis potentially has a big game here.
Yeah, Xavier Tillman, I like it. We talked they played 4 games ago. They played the Lakers. Tillman played 32 minutes. When his matchup, when he has to play against a true big like an AD, their backup 5 right now is Santi Aldama without Clark, without Steven Adams. Tillman's going to have to try and match AD's minutes for the most part. So I definitely think it's a good Xavier Tillman spot. Jaren Jackson, if he stays out of foul trouble, definitely a good game for Memphis. And then before we go to Mangone, people are talking the huge price difference, 4,900 for Tyus on DK, where he's 7,500 on FanDuel. I'm on the cash chart today. Tyus Jones is a cash lock on DraftKings. Didn't even put him on the FanDuel player pool for cash. But in tournaments, I definitely think you can play a low-owned Tyus with all the value in the world. So not nearly a strong play. Obviously, $2,600 difference is crazy, but I do think he's a tournament play. He's shown ceiling multiple times. So, man, go and close it out. Let's see the likes. We did get to 333 likes. So we'll get to the plays of the day after Mangone's done talking.
Yeah, agree with everything you said, Title. I think, everything you said was perfect. I do think Tyus, here's a good question. If you had to pick one guy to fade on this slate, Tyus Jones or Marvin Bagley? It's probably Bagley, right? Bagley did yesterday, but Tyus Jones in this spot just typically crushes. DC, what would you say? If you had to pick one, Marvin Bagley or Tyus, who's the fade? I'm not saying I'm saying who is it?
Yeah, I would way rather fade Bagley than Tyus. I just think there's way more stuff that can go wrong for Bagley, whereas Tyus, just
feels like Tyus has just been getting it done for years. I definitely agree.
I agree. I just think he's like a plug and play, free square, move on. And I'm happy to do it. But it is a deep guard slate for sure. But I'm just asking the question just because I'm curious to hear the litmus test of how people feel about the two, because they are clearly the two guys that are getting pounded on a lot of teams tonight. I like Tyus Jones, definitely looking to play him. Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson, those two guys are really good plays that when you grab 7K and 8K guys that have the ability to match a Luka and match a Kyrie, and just match an Embiid, those guys are just so valuable for that 2K less that I like chasing that ceiling and upside. And those two guys have the ability to do that and has the ability to upgrade you from a 5K guy then to another 8K or 9K guy. So I think that's worth looking at. Really going to like them. Dillon Brooks, easy fade for me. I just think guard is way too deep today. Dillon Brooks is not the kind of guy I play. He's a loser. You could say I'm biased, but he's just a giant loser. The price is better, though. I will give it that. We talked about Bruce Brown yesterday. You got to go when the price is right. You got to consider someone. The price is getting a little more right for Dillon Brooks, but again, he's a giant loser. I'm not playing him. Xavier Tillman, I like the call out there on him. I think he's a pretty good option. If I had to pick, and again, we're going to have to make some tough decisions on this slate. Xavier Tillman or Mitchell Robinson, I'd probably go to Mitchell Robinson. And slate changes with Jalen Brunson being ruled out. Obviously going to like Quickly a lot, going to like Barrett. Those are going to be two guys that I get pretty high exposure to here on this slate. And then Julius Randle's going to be a good spend too. So the slate's definitely changed a little bit. I do think you might see ownership change on guys like Middleton and Portis due to that. I think that could be guys that get really affected there at those forward positions by them. And then I'm trying to think of who's the guard that gets squeezed. And I don't think Tyus and Javon get squeezed. I think it's more like the Jaden Ivies, right? But then
it has to be, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably him. But then what if Harden gets ruled out? Well, then it's Maxey, right? You want to have him, and then it's okay, let's say you like one spend up guard today, right? You like Luka's raw points, but then you have Tyus, you have Carter, you have Maxey with Harden out. If that happens, and you have Quickly, it's I can only play 4 guards. So it's again, the guard position is a premium. That's why we're not playing a loser like Dillon Brooks today. It's just simple. So
why do you keep going? Why? What do you have against him? What did this man do to you?
He's a giant, fake, tough guy, loser. Everything he does. If I told you there's a person I didn't want to be in the NBA, it's Dillon Brooks. It's just,
I could tell. I just had to get the quick explanation.
Yeah, it just every time.
We got long enough hair to style it into a Dillon Brooks style devil look over there.
I've done that. I've got the braids in one time in my life. A lot of work though, but probably not happen again. Yeah, I was wondering that too. I wonder if Mangone's girl is now gone because of Brooks. That was my guess too, Pete.
No, that is definitely not the case. But so just to kind of button it up with this piece of news, I'm going to play these really good guards, and I'm going to get different with my forwards. My forwards and my center is where I want to try and find a way to get a little bit different. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to plug in a 1% guy, but I just think the guards are way too good today. I guess before we kind of move on, I think it's a good talking point. Like, if you had to pick who's like between Quickly, Jones, and Carter, who's the weakest guy there? I think it's probably Javon. Would you guys agree on that?
I feel like it's got to be Javon just because it can't be Quick, man. Quickly is just a stone nuts anytime he starts. I would probably go Quickly, Tyus, Javon.
And if Harden was ruled out, would you say Maxey's still over Javon or no? It gets tough.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me check. What's the
probably
because he's shooting guard eligible, so you can play him at shooting guard instead of just point guard.
No, that definitely matters. That's a good point for sure. So I'm just asking these questions because again, we're gonna have to we can play all these guards, but like then you make sure you gotta be different other spots where like maybe there's one you might have to cut. Like you're gonna sit and look at your teams, and when you're kind of picking them, you're gonna be like, well, this team doesn't have this guy, right? And let's say you like Luka on this slate. Well, you're gonna have to make a hard decision. So I'm trying to like at least get us to think about these decisions before we kind of move on, just because I think it does matter a ton. And again, there's more pieces of news that could come for sure. So and be sure to hear what the Up the Lock Show is going to say. Like I said, JSU, he faded. If I told you yesterday, Damian Lillard, who put up 72 DK points, was not on the winning team, you would tell me I'm an idiot. It's just simple. And JSU does a great job of digesting this also. Be sure to check out the Up the Lock Show. Use DC's code DC15 to get 15% off and be able to check that out. So yeah, overall, we're going to like these Lakers. I didn't talk that much about not the Lakers. We're going to like these Memphis Grizzlies. Didn't talk enough about Jaren Jackson. We know what his upside can be. Again, he's one of those guys that has that 50-point ceiling. And then if we have the money to spend up, like AD is a pretty good center option, right? I mean, we're not scared of Xavier Tillman's defense. Don't sleep on AD as a pretty good spend up at the center position tonight as well.
I like it. Someone in chat said Quickly or RJ Barrett if you had to choose one. Definitely Manuel Quickly. But yeah, you could play both of them, no doubt. Quickly is 7-3 on FanDuel, Pairby said. Yeah, FanDuel definitely was a lot sharper pricing today than DK with some of the misprices. Bagley, Tyus, Quickly. It's going to be a fun slate, though, no doubt. 8 games, still waiting on important news. The Up to Lock Show, we'll have it covered. JSU, Big T, holding there. You do have to be a member. Head over to Run Peer Sports, DC15. Gets you 15% off. It's time for the plays of the day, though, before we get on out of here. I'll start with myself first with the SO play of the day. I am definitely not going to go to a guard. Guard is way too loaded. I'm going to the center position, heading over to the Knicks. Mitchell Robinson, 5.9K. Love his upside in this spot. Played over 40 minutes last game. It was in overtime. Over 30 the game before. It's always about the minutes when it comes to Mitch Rob. Love the matchup. 4.9K, not 5.9K. That is my mistake. Mitchell Robinson, the SO play of the day. Love the upside there. Let's go. Mangone looks like he's still thinking. DC looks like he's locked in. So let's go to the Mom's Basement play of the day. Who do you got, DC?
Yeah, just kind of building out lineups while we're talking here. And obviously, I'm probably going to squeeze in these value guards, right? Quickly, Javon Carter, Tyus Jones. I think I'm just going to take the what I consider to be close to free squares on all 3 of those guys. So that leaves a lot of money to spend at forward. We talked about the great matchup for the Jazz here, potentially Kessler out, potentially Clarkson out. I'm going to go with big Lauri Markkanen going up against Dallas. I really don't think they have anybody who's capable of slowing him down much. They've obviously lost a lot of offensive pieces, and the offense should run a lot through him against a team that's playing a horrific defense since the Kyrie Irving trade. So Lauri Markkanen, Mom's Basement play of the day.
I like it. Should be very low owned. You have all the money to spend on a contrarian spend. So I definitely like that. Mangone, sweet Travis play of the day. Who do you got for us?
So I'm debating between 2 forwards. Is RJ Barrett going to be too chalky to really give out? Well, what's the take on that?
Well, now that you already said that, you might as well give the other one for the people. Give them 2 freebies.
All right. I'm just asking. So like here,
I don't know yet. I don't know because there's so many good value plays. Who even knows? Someone's getting about
because it's forward, right? DC talked about having wanted to spend it forward. I know I'm going to make sure to have RJ Barrett on at least one team. I'll tell you that. Like, he'll at least be on one of my 2, maybe even both. I also really want to get exposure to Porzingis as a spend. So there's one spend down forward for you and one spend up that I really like. That one, RJ Barrett's minutes are just insane. The matchup against Charlotte where they go these small ball lineups, like RJ could play at the 4 a bunch if they need to. Like he's just going to play positionless basketball and be in there a lot. So I think RJ Barrett is an incredible play. Porzingis, with Kyle Kuzma being a game time decision, and we still don't have that news. And I don't know if we're going to get that news for another 30 minutes. projections might not adjust that up enough. And they're going to adjust Julius Randle first. And I think you might get Porzingis at that like 15% to 10%. His upside in a matchup against Detroit. We love big men against Detroit. We saw him crush the Milwaukee Bucks the other day, right? And even if Kuzma's in, I still think we could take the chance on it because of how good that matchup is. And they are shorthanded. So I think I'm going to go with Porzingis and Barrett. We'll give 2 out today, but let's focus tonight on trying to get some unique forwards. I think that's the goal tonight, at least when I'm building out my lineups. That's where I'm looking to make my teams.
I like it. RJ Barrett, Chris S. Porzingis, Laurie Markkinen, Mitchell Robinson, the 3 plays of the day. In 5 minutes, Up to Lock Show is going to be there. JSU, Big T, Holden breaking it all down. We will see you there. Again, DC 15, if you're not a member, gets you 15% off to get in that live show chat. Make sure you get in the Discord as well. But for Mangone, DC, I'm Titletown. Good luck today.